Once again, the draft 3 weeks away. And for those of you wondering, Corey Chavis' uncle, Barney Chavis, was a member of the Denver Broncos from 1973 to 1985. Remember that Orange Crush defense. So that's where Corey Chavis' pedigree comes from. Not that he needed it because he was able to stand on his own 2 feet in the NFL. A guy who possibly stands on his own 2 feet when he's calling West Virginia Mountaineer football games joins us now, Tony Creedy. Tony, what, do you stand or sit when you're calling the games from the press box?
Mostly sit. Majority, I'd say a 95% sitter.
Is that because you're like 6'8" and the press box doesn't hold you?
It's because I'm getting old, man, and I have those binoculars on my head the entire game, so I have to have my elbows to hold my binoculars up on the table there. That's what it is.
Well, main reason I wanted to bring you on today, and I appreciate your time, is to talk about Geno Smith. But before we do that, how surprised are you that Pat White, one of the great West Virginia Mountaineers of all time, is back in the NFL after a 3-season hiatus?
I'm surprised, Mike. I thought that when he left the game, and as we all know, he suffered just a really bad concussion when he was playing for the Dolphins. I thought that ended it. And, he's kind of just been around. I mean, he's kind of dipped his toes into a couple of different ventures and looked at some things. I think he got into the music side of things, and he was looking at maybe coming around and coaching, and he was just kind of feeling himself through. But I think at the end of it all, he still wanted to play the game. And as you well know, he was involved with that lawsuit. He pulled his name out of that lawsuit and with his concussion situation, and now wants to give it a go. And so I think he's one of those guys that just felt that he had unfinished business and he wanted to give it another chance.
Was it the concussion that derailed him last time around, Tony, or was there something deeper, that he wasn't at the right maturity level? I know that's one of the explanations he gave when he launched his comeback. Is it concussion, or is it more the concussion that caused him to flame out after one season in Miami?
It's probably a combination of both. I think that the concussion, no pun intended, literally shook him. And I think that he kind of had to put things into perspective in regard to his career. And as you well know, he was trying to transition into the game when the game was less open-armed about the style of player that he is. And things have changed rather quickly, as you well know. And he probably is better suited today for what some of these teams are doing. But I think at that time, the mark against him that he wasn't an accurate enough thrower, and as a result of that, I think that kind of shook his confidence from where he was at the pinnacle in the college game to getting to the NFL, and so now he gets another opportunity.
And you look at how the NFL has changed, especially in the last year, and it makes me wonder about another former West Virginia quarterback who may have been about 20 years ahead of his time. You think Major Harris, if he – and, there's probably people out there saying, who the hell is Major Harris? But we know who Major Harris is, and anybody who's followed West Virginia football since the late 80s knows who Major Harris is. Do you think he would have a shot today? Was he that far ahead of his time, and could he thrive in this modern NFL?
I think that from the read option standpoint, I mean, he would have been absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely, it would have worked. The bugaboo against him was that he did not throw it well enough. And so I think that, no, there's no question. I've thought about the same thing. He would at least have the opportunity now to get a legitimate look at playing in the league, whereas in 1989 when he came out, the game had not changed to that point yet. But, yeah, that would have been something to behold. And the quick refresher on Major Harris is two-time Heisman finalist, led West Virginia to the national championship game in 1988, and they went undefeated during the regular season. So, yeah, he's always fondly remembered, as you know, here at WVU.
And hopefully in this day and age, he would show up at the scouting combine to work out wearing something other than jeans and a dress shirt, which is true. I always thought that was embellished. That is true. Google it. It's true. Well, Geno Smith showed up in something other than jeans and a dress shirt for the scouting combine, and he's going to get an opportunity in today's NFL. The question is, how high does he go in the draft? He's been the main topic of discussion this week. Scouting report from Pro Football Weekly, some pretty scathing stuff. You've been in and around the program. You've talked to people. We retweeted your link to a discussion with the offensive coordinator. What's your take on this notion that Geno Smith doesn't have the right work ethic?
It just runs counter to everything that we had heard about Geno Smith during his 4 years at West Virginia. That was probably the most surprising thing of the report. It's just every storyline, and I don't want to generalize and say every, but the majority of what was written in the Pro Football Weekly synopsis as far as the negatives go just ran counter to what the story was on Geno. You always were hearing from coaches, and you got to remember that he played for Coach Bill Stewart and he played for Dana Holgorsen, that the kid had a great work ethic, that he was a student of the game, that he would do the extra things that needed to be done, that in practice he was that guy that really worked hard, that he led other guys. And so that's why I think there has been so much opposition to the report that came out earlier this week, because it ran counter to everything else that people had been saying about him within the West Virginia circle over the years.
And you've seen all the West Virginia quarterbacks since arriving with the Mountaineer Sports Network in 1987. There haven't been any. There's been plenty of talk that there's going to be one that's going to make it at the NFL level. Rasheed Marshall, Jake Kelchner. I can probably rattle them all off, as can you. You think Geno Smith is the guy who's finally going to take it to the next level and thrive there?
I think so. I think probably, Mike, that Mark Bulger was the guy that has had
I forgot about Bulger. How did I forget about Bulger?
Well, because everybody does.
Never
because
mind.
I mean, it's not your fault, because literally he was kind of that quiet guy, and no one thought that when he came out of West Virginia that he was going to have the success that he did in the league. And he did have some significant success. He made the Pro Bowl and had that great release. And so I think that when you put the two together, that the answer to your question is yes. I think Geno Smith can exceed what every West Virginia quarterback has done, since I've been here. This is my 29th season, so I've been here just before Jeff Hostetler, Haas left, and I've seen him all since. And he has all the attributes to be extremely successful. And so that's kind of why, the criticism is just part of the deal as you get closer to the draft. But a lot of people think that this guy has the best chance to be a legitimate, week in, week out NFL quarterback.
You gave me a little save on the Mark Bulger gaffe. Anthony Beck may not be as charitable. He's on Pro Football Talk tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern. At least I'm not in the studio with the guy. The guy's a giant, so at least I don't have to face him when he says, how could you forget my guy, Mark Bulger? Let's talk quickly about the other guys in the draft pool, specifically the receivers, Tavon Austin, Stedman Bailey. Everybody's got Tavon going in round one, despite his size. You think there's a chance he would go higher than Geno? I don't think that happens. I look at Tavon and I see just an incredible upside that a lot of people don't appreciate.
Yeah, I'd be real surprised if that were to happen, if he were to go higher than Geno. But of all the guys that I've ever seen here, and we've seen some pretty good teams, obviously, that we've played as well through the years, I would buy him as quickly as I can, because he just has that innate natural ability just to make plays. And while he is smaller, as you well know, he tested well strength-wise at the combine, and he has a knack for not taking serious hits. He just got a knack. I'm not saying he runs out of bounds prematurely, but he knows when a play is over. And his ability to start and stop, his ability to change direction is at a different level. And so I think that he's going to make someone a very, very, productive player in this league.
Stedman Bailey, right place, right time, in a high-powered offense that played a lot of bad defenses, or is he a guy that you think can thrive?
He's legitimate. I think that there's no question that he was aided by an offense that threw that football and had a really good guy throwing the ball to him. However, he made catches, Mike. He's got extremely good hands. He's deceptively strong for his size, and he just has a way. Is he going to win every single sprint for 100 meters? No. Is he going to look the best? No. He makes plays. He gets the ball. He makes catches. And in difficult situations, I think his hands are his biggest attribute. I think he's going to be a productive player.
Well, multiple key players for the West Virginia Mountaineers that need to be replaced. Dana Holgorsen's task is a stiff one. With Geno Smith, Tavon Austin, Stedman Bailey gone, also Joe Madsen, the starting center. He's going to be in that draft mix as well. Tony, thanks for your time, and we'll talk to you again down the road.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. Tony Caridi, great stuff. He set me straight on Mark. How did I forget Mark Bulger? Mark Bulger's the guy that got Kurt Warner run out of St. Louis. In hindsight, maybe not the best move the Rams ever made, considering that Warner ended up taking the Cardinals to the Super Bowl. Either way, that's it for today. 3 weeks. Have I mentioned? 3 weeks from the 2013 NFL Draft. Great stuff from Corey Chavis and Tony Caridi. Tonight, Pro Football Talk on NBC Sports Network. Anthony Becht in studio. I believe Pete Najarian's going to be in studio as well, along with Eric Casillas. I'm going to be in studio next week, making the trip up to Connecticut for a few days. I got that brand new studio. I haven't been in it yet. I've been in this studio and elsewhere, but I'll be in Connecticut next week. We'll be on tonight at 5 o'clock. We'll be back tomorrow. I think Tony Gonzalez tomorrow. PFT Live. Check in to find out. 12 o'clock noon Eastern. We'll see you then. Check out Pro Football Talk on NBC Sports Network weeknights at 5 p.m. Eastern and PFT Live weekdays at noon Eastern on NBCSports.com.